G'day, ballers, and welcome to the Snap, the podcast where we give you our snap reactions to the NRL SuperCoach round that was. My name's Jono, coach of Hungry for More, and with me to talk about all the big news coming out of round 24 is the Coach of Toya story coming off a big week. It's Cracker. How are you, mate?
Very good, Jono. Very happy to be here. Are you trying to make the Sunday Snap even snappier by just calling it the Snap when you open the show? Or was that just a bit of just an early faux pas from you there?
Didn't even realise I did it. I also forgot to mention that you are my Nepo brother as well, which I love getting in an introduction.
Rattled. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Pretty perfect weekend on the sporting front for all the things I go for. The Roosters, top of the table, great game the other night. My local side, Joey, shout out to him, through to the first grade grand final, second grade prelim.
Sucked in Dealer.
Oh, I wasn't even going to go there. I don't want to isolate any Dealer listeners we might have, but sucked in Dealer. Sucked in for feeder. And Toya Story. Good week. Good week for Toy Story.
Big week for Toy Story. What have you had?
It's big. It's big in comparison. It's a 1334. I haven't seen a whole bunch bigger out there. There will be some, I'm sure. But I was just saying to you pre-pod, I'm comfortably above par. I've had a good score, but it also wasn't like some monster score that's going to shoot me flying up the rankings. But I managed to avoid the carnage. Dufty Pod finally did something for me in a week when Suafalongo had the bye, which was just... I needed that for my mental health. So, yeah, really good week all around on the sporting front. How have you gone?
Mate, I've gone good. Had a lovely weekend. But Supercoach-wise, had a 12.75, which I think is going to be slightly above par. Similar to what you were saying. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be a big moving week. But hopefully it's enough that I think I'm just outside that top 100 at the moment. I'd love to get myself back into the top 100 there. And, yeah, a couple of things went wrong, like Reece Walsh, which we'll talk about soon, obviously getting a 1, and now he's confirmed to be out for 8 weeks with surgery. So that was no good. I'm going to have to use another trade on him because it's such a key position. But otherwise, yeah, a good round. I want to start off, Cracker, quick chemistry check for you and I. Obviously, you are my brother. You should know me very, very well. And we are brothers who are actual friends as well, not brothers that hate each other or anything else. But I want to I want to ask you. I went to Mum's place this weekend out near Orange, and I stopped through the Brewer Bakery on the way up and got myself a meat pie. What I want to ask you is, what do you reckon my go-to meat pie is if I go to a bakery?
You're a bit of a foodie guy. So you'll go something. You won't just go like a beef or a chunky steak. You'll go something a bit out there. I reckon he would have gone like a chicken curry or something along those lines.
Oh, no, that's way off.
No?
That's a bad start to the chemistry check. You're right. I didn't go the beef, but I'd say I go potentially even simpler than a beef despite it having more.
Hang on. Did you go a potato pie?
No, I love a potato pie though. No.
Damn it.
You're well off.
I thought I could have rescued it.
Cheese and bacon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Nice.
Any other? That's it. All right. Good. Bad start to the chemistry check.
No, cheese and bacon just sounds like you're ordering it for your son because it's a very little boy pie. But I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Do you reckon it's a little boy pie?
All right. Did you have a little packet of tiny teddies afterwards to finish it off, or?
No, I just had the pie. I had a coffee because I'm a man, not a little boy.
Yeah.
So I had a coffee with it. Cracker, just before we get into the actual round review, I'm a little bit rattled after being called a little boy by my little brother. But look, a reminder that if you're enjoying all this fantastic banter as well as the SuperCoach content that we bring to the table, please get out there, give us a follow on all the socials that Ballr have going. Like it, comment, subscribe. People do it every week, and we really appreciate it. And also, jump into the Ballers Only Discord. It's a great place to be. A lot of fun on game day and lots of, hopefully, good advice for people to get around. Cracker, let's start off with the Ready to Explode segment taken from the Ballers Only Discord. The first one comes in is Hamish Stewart from Meeks. I think he's a big Waz fan, Meeks, so he'll be flying high after the weekend. Hamish Stewart has had 90 points, a try and a forced dropout, 59 in base plus power. How unbelievable is the form that he's showing at the moment, Cracker?
It's incredible, and the run just doesn't end. It just keeps going. I feel like one of you guys said it. He's the most talked about guy on a podcast that none of us have ever owned. And I feel like that is he's 14.5% owned. The numbers he's been putting up, if he was like a big name or someone that had like a bit of pedigree from previous years, he'd be so highly owned. It's just that everyone kind of keeps going, oh yeah, he's going really well. He's getting a lot of attack, but he keeps doing it. It's just unbelievable. Lovely outball he ran. Got on the outside shoulder of Luai, I believe it was today. No, they didn't even play each other, so that wasn't it. Yes, it was. Oh my God, now I'm rattled. So yeah, he's just running a good line. He's putting himself in the frame all the time. And the base plus power is strong every week too. So even if he doesn't get that attack, if the streak finally finishes, he's still going to put up reliable numbers.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of taking this question from the perspective of like, you could say Hamish Stewart has exploded for this season, but I'm starting to think, are we like seeing an explosion as a legitimate top 6 second row forward in all of SuperCoach? Like some of the numbers, Cracker, I said this on the Snap last week and it's now continued. He hasn't gone under 70 since round 11. Sorry, once. And it was a 63 since round 11. We're up to round 24. He has had either a try or a try assist, or both in some cases, in his last 6 games. And one thing they said on the coverage today that I found really interesting was that he actually grew up a halfback. And it was only in his later teenage years that he started to become such a big unit that he moved into the forward. So that, to me, like last week, he threw a beautiful ball for a try assist. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can kind of see that playmaking skill now. So do you think there's a chance that he has actually arrived as a legitimate second row forward gun?
Yeah, I think so. I think what else does he need to do? Like, you know what I mean? He's answering all the questions. He's ticking all the boxes. He's just going to be very expensive at the start of next season. The exciting thing is like the Dragons are finishing this year with a lot of positives. There's been a lot made of this young forward pack, and rightly so. And their recruitment is unbelievable. So he's going to now be running lines with guys like Drinky there, with guys like Metcalf there, with Cody Nikarima there, like Keon helping to lay that platform. Like the attack should continue to flow, and he's going to be running off some really class players with all those young guys around him. I think he'll continue to do it next year. It just might be a lot of money to splash at the start of the season in a position that's quite strong at the moment in SuperCoach.
It's very interesting. One that we will certainly, I'm sure, talk about in the Ballr content in the preseason. Let's move down now to the rage trades, also coming from the Ballers Only Discord. Are you little? Cracker, our first rage trade. I love it. So many nominees. He's been nominated by 4 separate people. This comes in from Competitive Edge, Tempe Tigers, Chucky G, and Birdbrain. It is KL Iro, or as Birdbrain called him, KL0, because he has had 50 on the weekend, all in base plus power. I think the big thing for a lot of the owners here, Cracker, is they're frustrated after they've held him through that HIA. And he really has just been overall a bit of a letdown or a disappointment all the way through, except for those back-to-back hat-tricks weeks, which were now way back in round 8 and round 9.
Yeah, it's been a really disappointing season for KL. I think what also probably hurts owners more is he was purchased. There was one week where there weren't many options, and there were a couple of injured centre wings out, and he was quite expensive, and people just jumped on as kind of he was the only guy they felt like they could go to. And he's just plummeted in price since then because the scores have just been very disappointing. He also should have scored on the weekend. Like, it was a bad finish. Like, he really should have finished off the trial.
Yeah, I agree.
His foot out. Like, he's just not had a good season. I understand the rage, like, and I'm sure those are the 4 people who wrote it. I'm sure there's many out there feeling the same. It's been a really disappointing season. We just keep talking about this Sharks draw and this Sharks run, but I'm so sure we'll get to it more when we get to the Sharks game. No Tricky is interesting. You and I are both guys who have been very critical of Tricky over the years, and I think most Sharks fans have been, to be fair, we know a lot of Sharks fans have been very critical of Tricky over the years. I never thought I'd see him get injured and think, wow, that is actually huge implications for the Sharks. But the way he's been playing this year has been really, really strong, and it makes, Nico's role better, and guys like Iro now are not going to have Tricky inside of them. It's a lot of implications for the Sharkies.
Oh, big time. And I think that him and Nico had finally got the role right. Like, it was finally the right balance between the two of them, where Nico was running the ball, Tricky was doing his controlling around the ruck, a little bit of off-the-cuff stuff. It finally looked really nice, and it is a big loss. I still think the Sharks are going to bounce back just fine, but we'll talk about that more in their game. For now, I'll say people are not trading Kaolito. They're putting him up as a rage trade because they're frustrated, and I get it. I'd be frustrated if I owned as well. And I'm frustrated at the next one, Cracker, because I do own the next one. That's Jacob Kiddaz, who has been nominated by Michael, the Tempe Tigers, and Old Boomer, who not only nominated Kiddaz, he nominated the Dogs' whole attacking structure. Kiraz has had 44 points, no attacking stats at all in that. 5 errors, including 3 offloads that went straight to Rabbitohs players. And the biggest frustration for me, Cracker, as someone who played Kiraz this week, I only played him once Teddy got injured. Kiraz moved into my team thinking that's a pretty good cover. The Dogs just never look to go right to that edge. There's a couple of times they go out there and Galvin loves to hit the short ball. And if it's not Jacob Preston, he was hitting whoever his centre was. It was Tuala first and then Bronson Cherry second after they reshuffled. It just doesn't look good for Kiraz.
Yeah, that's better. You were lacking your Kidaz last week. I did the exact same thing as you. Teddy was out. I put Kidaz into my starting side over Markey. And it was very frustrating. It's like with the offloads, he knows when it hits, it gets his forwards rolling, it gets them on the front foot, but Rabbitohs were in their faces. They had no forward momentum. So when he was throwing them, there were red and green jerseys everywhere and they were just getting picked off and he was really forcing it. And then just on the back of that, everything you said, just like not giving him the ball, not looking to go right. We were talking just before we started recording, there was an opportunity for Galvin to throw a very like simple Harbour Bridge pass. He was wide open, didn't do it, hit Sherry short. Another time Sherry could have tipped on, went himself. Like it was really, really frustrating. And then the dreaded limp started again. He was limping around at the back end of the game.
He was too. At least he got through that though.
He did get through. And look, he worked hard. He had like 27 or 28 carries. For Kidhouse to have that many carries and pump out a 44, like something's gone wrong, and we know what's gone wrong. He was offloading to the wrong team for most of the game.
And like that's an 18-point swing. Those 3 offloads go to hand to Dogs. They don't become errors. He ends up on 62 instead of 44, and we're less frustrated. But the reality is they didn't go to Rabbitohs. They went to the Dogs, and it's not a good score. I am going to look, I think, to sit him as much as I possibly can for the run.
I was just going to say the biggest thing with him is going to be now, depending on how injuries and everything shakes out this week, like do you play him, do you not play him? They go and play the Dragons now, who are not the walkovers that they were at the start of the season. Like they're playing a lot better. Then they go to Panthers, so you'll definitely sit him for that. And they finish with the Broncos. So it's a bit of a mixed draw there. He's going to be a tricky sit-start each week, but I'll be leaning towards sitting as much as I can, I think.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. The last of the rage trades from the Ballers Only Discord is coming in from James, and it is Reece Walsh. Now, I think obviously Reece Walsh isn't a rage trade in the traditional sense of you're angry at him, you're trading. I'm angry and I'm trading, so I guess he does count as a rage trade, just like it does for James. He had 1 point on the weekend, syndesmosis after a hip drop. He is gone for the year. So like I said at the top of the show, it's going to be 8 weeks, they reckon, post-surgery. He might be back for the Kangaroos in the World Cup. I also think, Cracker, you were saying this to me in the green room, really tricky price now to work around. He's going to be about $550K. And if people don't have cash in the bank, it's kind of tricky to even say who's the right option to trade him to.
100%. Really, really challenging for owners. It was. I really felt for him. You could see he was like. It wasn't one of those ones where you could tell straight away he wasn't trying to milk a penalty. You could tell he was in serious agony. And obviously the scans have confirmed why. But yeah, really hard to move him on. Obviously he's taking up a very valuable fullback or flex spot. So people with trades left are going to have to do it. Price, like we said, and also just options, like we said. Like you and I said pre-pod. Just not a lot out there at the moment. We'll possibly talk about some options when we get to the big baller moves later. But very difficult, very awful time of the season to have one of your big fullbacks go down.
Yeah, it sucks. And it was a real dagger. Like, obviously, you mentioned that the injury did look legit straight away. And I think Charles Nickel-Klukstad's missing a couple of weeks now because of the hip drop. But whatever how he tried to get back in the line. And, like, I was thinking, like, come on, Reece, you can still give me something.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to try and assist, throws the intercept. And by the time the bloke's...
Yeah, that's right.
He threw it to AKP. And then by the time that AKP had put the ball down, the camera's cut back to Walsh, who's already halfway up the tunnel. He just immediately walked off. So we'll have a chat on the... I did feel for him. He obviously, wasn't trying to give up on the team and give up on the season. But
and he also... He was looking for some Walsh ball, some Reece ball earlier. Like, he was getting his hands on it a lot. He was very much up for that challenge against the Wars. And, very sad way for the season to end for him.
Very sad. All right, let's get into the round analysis now, starting off with your Roosters getting over the top of the Penny Panthers in the first game. And Sam Walker had 85. That's a great score coming up against the Panthers. You would have really been happy to take that. He had an assist, a line break, a line assist, and 4 dropouts. Yeah, playing the top of the table. He only got 6 points from goals. Cracker, I know it's not completely SuperCoach relevant, but I'd say this is a lot more meaningful for contract negotiations than his huge score from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, because the big criticism on Sammy and from Roosters fans and myself alike is just, can he do it in those really big pressure games, the low scoring grindy games? And he was really, really classy the other night. He had a cracking game, and that 6.3% of the top 10 who own him would be stoked to have him come out and get that score against the Panthers. So highly impressive performance, and I think the bargaining's, they're starting to ask for some serious numbers to re-sign him. So
P&G
see how that all
numbers
plays out. Yeah, P&G money, that sounds like, for sure.
It does. There's not too much else to discuss from the Roosters, obviously, with James Tedesco out again. Hopefully he's back next week against the Tigers. But I've got to say, Mark looked a little bit better, and the numbers kind of back it up. He had a 61, and that this week included 56 in base plus power. So I'm hoping that can make him a bit more of a factor for the run home again. And I thought just one of those ones, like I sat him. I think you sat him as well. Perfect kind of score for a sit as well, where it's like not so big that you regret not playing him, but it's also not so small that it becomes an AE issue if you have to loop. So I think it kind of sat in a nice region for Mark. On to the Panthers. Now, Lindsay Smith was, I believe, their best scorer, at least the best one we're talking about on this show. And you might think, Cracker, I'm about to talk up what a genius I am for putting him on people's radars on the Snap last week and then again on the Tuesday show. It's actually the opposite. I think I got it wrong. 91 points by itself. You can see the face of it. Great score. He had an assist. He had 71 in base plus power. But he actually only played 52 minutes. I think that's a little bit disappointing compared to what I'd expected with him stepping into that yo role.
Yeah, it is disappointing on the minutes front. And like obviously the assist boosted his score a lot. But the 71 base and power in that time is highly impressive. So,
it is. It's great PPM.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully, only a very small portion of people listened to you and brought him in. So hopefully for those people, he can mop up some more minutes in future weeks. But it's great work rate. I thought he looked okay. The Panthers definitely looked a bit lackluster without Yo directing them around and getting Cleary a bit wider. But I thought he played well. But yeah, not really relevant, unfortunately, for those people that brought him in or for anyone else to even consider him.
Agreed. IPAP is in really good form in terms of his PPM at the moment as well. He's getting through a lot of work, 79 points. He did play 80 minutes, and I just think he looks really strong at the moment. And, I mean, a good thing for the owners if he's going to keep getting 80 while Yo's out.
Yeah, he's playing really good footy. As you said, just working really, really hard. In this kind of game, like the Roosters' defence was unbelievable, but in other weeks, he also is very a lot of upside IPAP as well. Likes to try to find the try line, a bit of an assist guy. So, yeah, he's a great play for owners, I reckon, week to week.
Dylan Edwards in that 47, including a line assist, that's, I'd say, very disappointing for the 7% of that top 10% who have held him through this shoulder injury the whole way.
Yeah, it is. It is disappointing, but he's fit and playing football. He'll be on the park the next few weeks, unlike some of the other guys that have gone down. They play the Storm, Dogs, Tigers. They got a nice-ish run to finish off. So if you held him this long, you're holding him the rest of the way, and you're hoping for some better performances in these last few weeks.
Yeah, and probably less likely to get a rest now. They might want to get a bit of actual footy back under his belt. So that could be a good thing.
Yes. Actually, we should have talked about this as well because this is something we were discussing in our WhatsApp. The results on the weekend. So a couple of good things that went in the way of restings. So the Panthers losing and the Wars continuing to win now means that the Panthers will need to win out, assuming the Wars keep winning, unless they want to fly to New Zealand to play them in the first week of the finals. So that round 27 match against the Tigers that we all assumed the Panthers were resting for, if they have to win that to secure a home final, I don't think they'd be resting their players because we just saw what happened when they went over to New Zealand. And the other one was the Cowboys losing to the Eels means there's somewhat of a battle still for 8th position. It's still unlikely for a lot of teams, but it might just force a few more teams in the 8 to have to play all the way to the end, which is nice.
Or at least the Cowboys anyway.
The Cowboys, and then also the top 4, Dolphins, Sharks kind of areas as well. They're kind of battling that out too. So there's a few results on the weekend that was good for super coaches in terms of restings in the round 27.
Absolutely. Cracker, Nathan Cleary, who I know you had the VC on, only 43 points, no major attack, just the one goal, and that is actually his second worst score of the year. And that score was only 4 weeks ago. So he had a 38 against the Broncos, then he went 300s in a row, and now 43 in this one. I mean, I have no Nathan Cleary concerns.
Neither.
Tommy Jenkins, 41 points, mainly base, only 2 tackle busts. Paul Alamotti actually came from the field with a non-contact leg injury, so we'll see what the go is there. The reason I'm bringing that up is because Casey McLean is due to return next week. I'm hoping that this now means that Isaac Tungo is going to move over to the right edge because there were times on the weekend, just like we complained about with Jacob Kiddos having the try line in front, there are a couple of Tommy Jenkins opportunities, but Tungo hates passing that ball out there.
Yeah, Glue Hands Tungo struck, and it was very, tough when you're cheering for the Roosters as a Roosters fan, but also cheering for Milky. It was very, very conflicted when Tungo did hang onto the ball. But yes, it'll be highly ideal to get Casey back on the field as quickly as possible.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, it would be absolute disaster if there was some world where Casey came back on the right and stayed on the left. But I can't see him mucking around with that left edge and how good it's been all year. So come straight back, Casey. All right, next game, the Seagulls versus the Finns. And Jermaine Osako was the top scorer in this one, 106 points, a try, an assist, and 2 line breaks. He actually didn't kick that well, considering what a great goal kicker he is. He only got 8 points from goals in this one. Osako, I guess, a big reminder for everyone that he's a legitimate VC option.
Yeah, and I think we kind of talked potentially about him a little bit on the Tuesday pod about people doing that. We talked, I know there was a few messages in the Discord about that too, so hopefully people looped him in a week where none of the really big popular captain options went that well. Yeah, good performance from him. If he gets a try, he's usually just going to go big. So good to see, and they've got a pretty nice run on the way home outside of their Roosters fixture.
Jack Bostock, I thought, looked the best he's kind of looked in his few games back since he made his Origin debut. He had 80 points, try, a line break, a line assist, 51 in base plus power. They got a nice matchup next week against the Eels, and I suppose the flip side of, for a lot of people with like a Kiddo's not going so well, is that now Jack Bostock is looking like a legit play.
Yeah, and I think there was that tricky week when the Dolphins were on the bye, and I believe it was me, Danny Boy and Matt who were on here saying if you can hold Bostock through that, he's a great hold because of these fixtures they have coming up, and he's looked really good, and I'm jealous that I wasn't able to hold him through because I think he's definitely a play, like you said, over Kidaz for the games coming up.
Kefu, Finifil Yaki, he had 62 points. Bit weird again. His powers dropped right back off. Like, it's not a bad score, don't get me wrong, but that was mainly base. He only had 2 tackle busts. Last week, I think he got a score in the low 60s where he had absolutely no power stats. Definitely, to my watching that game, it doesn't look like there's any kind of injury concerns. It just seems like it's just a couple of unlucky weeks, I guess.
Yeah, he still seemed to be running the ball just as hard as ever. And, like, he's willing and he's working. So, yeah, I guess the first up contact from the defence has just been good and just wrapped him up early. So I think you should expect to see that power return with how hard he's still running the ball. But yeah, very bizarre the last couple of weeks.
Cracker, Herbie Farmworth had a 47. I think it was probably his worst actual NRL game I've seen from him in 2, maybe even 3 years, going back to his time at the Broncos. 4 errors, 2 penalties, 2 missed tackles. He was also like, he was Herbie Milkworth. Like, he was trying to milk. Every time he got tackled, he was like flopping up at the referee, like kind of carrying on a little bit like my 4-year-old daughter would, like when something doesn't go her way. It just was a weird Herbie game.
Like your 4-year-old daughter when they're out of cheese and bacon pies or whatever little kids like to get from bakeries. Yeah, it was odd. He didn't seem himself. He kept also going he gave away 2 penalties going for the one-on-one strips at times when it just wasn't really on. So
not on at all. Frustrating.
No, it was, yeah, very weird. Very weird performance from Herbie. I mean, I think you just kind of put a line through that. He'll be hopefully back to his best.
So still a big VC option for you? You're not off put by it? Because he's had a few lowly scores over the last couple of months.
He has. I just think with the amount of like high upside positions not flying at the moment, I still think he's a pretty reliable guy. I still wouldn't have an error putting a VC on him if he's playing early in the week, and I expect him to bounce back. But yeah, certainly it hasn't just been like a one-off. There have been a few low scores the last couple of months, but I still think he's a VC option. Yeah, depending on your team makeup and who else you've got there, but I wouldn't write him off.
Yeah, I'll VC Herbie Farmworth, but I'm not putting it on Herbie Sookworth. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Herbie Sookworth again. Cracker, the only one from the Seagulls that's worth talking about is Homole Olakawatu, who had 67, all in base plus power. I've got to give him a little bit of credit here. I speculated a few weeks ago that with Fosball dying, would we start to see a bit of like a downturn in Ola, going back to a few of his own ways where he can sometimes get a score in the low 40s, high 30s. He's done that in previous years. Credit to him. He's gone 3 weeks in a row without a try or a try assist, and he's still scoring quite well.
Yeah, he seems to be certainly front-loading his games, I've noticed. Like, I feel like I open up Ballr and in the first 15, 20 minutes, he's already gone up to like a 30 or a 40, then it kind of plateaus by the end of the game.
Is that maybe because Seagulls are just getting pumped by then?
I think so. I reckon he's coming out there trying to make a statement, trying to have that good attitude that he's spoken publicly about how much he loves Foz and playing for him. And I think just as the game wears on, he's only human. I think he just kind of drops off a little bit as the game gets away from them, but still putting up impressive numbers. As you said, no attack recently, so hopefully he can jag some attack. But you're not sitting him; you're playing him every week. He's 85% owned. He's just going to keep doing a job for you for the rest of the season.
But probably a rule out for the VCNC moving forward because
Yeah,
a month ago he was being talked about as an option.
Yeah, I think that's done. I think that's definitely done with their season over, and the way they're performing as a team. I think you can't really consider him anymore.
The next game is the Bulldogs versus the Rabbitohs, and you mentioned at the top of the show, your man, Matt Duffy, your big pod from a few weeks back. It's finally come off. 116 points, a try, an assist, 2 line breaks, a line assist, 56 in base plus power. You must have been a very happy man.
I was ecstatic. I would have been happier if he actually got that try at the end that was a try. They said the Dogs player grounded it with his torso. Absolute stitch up, but
not
unreal
bitter.
to see that. No, not bitter. Finally paid off for me. Very, very happy about that.
Wonder if he's he's one I'll take a look at with Reece Walsh going down. I don't think I'll get him, but I don't think he's worth completely ignoring. And I think it's just crazy that he doesn't even have a club yet for next year. Like he's at worst got to be picked up by someone as a backup fullback and a guy in your top 30. He looks so good.
Don't pick him up. No one in Supercoach pick him up, please. Leave him alone. But yeah, it is crazy that no clubs have signed him. And I do actually genuinely think he's a decent option with the amount of fullbacks that aren't performing or injured at the moment. Because every week he's still been going fine for me. Like he's still been punching out his base and power. He works so hard. He just couldn't get any attack to save himself. And finally on the weekend gets a bit of attack and he gets rewarded with the big score. He'll have to be getting a contract over the next few weeks, you'd have to think.
Has to. The other one from the Rabbitohs who scored really well was Tallis Duncan, had 101, a try, an assist, 2 line breaks, 54 in base plus power. He almost had a little bit of Tallis Junkin as well, but there was a slightly forward pass from Cody Walker. It's actually funny because he has obviously played a lot in the centres now over the last 2 years. He's legitimately at first when he played in the centres, it was like Tallis will do you a job if you have to play in there. Now he looks like one of the best centres in the comp. His line running is incredible. His defence and his defensive reads for a guy who's filling in, I think he looks so good.
Yeah, he looks amazing. Like a real strike centre. Really just good at getting one-on-one with his man, give him early ball, that kind of guy. And that's big raps for a centre. And as you said, defensively, really, really sound. Just having a great season. And that line he ran, he got there a bit early, which meant that Cody kind of did. It was definitely forwards.
It was.
If he had just held up his run half a metre, we would have been looking at another really, really big score. But obviously 101 is fantastic. And I think he'll continue to score. I think the Rabbitohs are going to finish really, really strong these last few weeks. Troops back on deck. Trell around the corner. I think they're going to have a big finish to the season and push into the finals. And hopefully Tallis, is the beneficiary of all that.
He's one who gets high emotions from people, Tallis. It's pretty funny. I've been doing this pod now for a couple of years, and the Sunday Snap in particular. And the most I've ever copped it online about a player was the week I put up Tallis Duncan as a ready to explode and said I was going to bring him in last year. I was getting it absolutely fed to me. And normally on this show, people disagree, but normally it's not a laugh you off. But it just shows perception-wise how far he's also come in the last 12 months of his NRL career as well, because now everyone loves him. He's an origin chance now.
Is that one of the most polite, get that up your haters? Is that what you're going for there?
I don't even know who the haters. I don't even know who the haters were, but
clearly you've been thinking about them.
No, it popped into my mind as you were kind of talking your thing. I was just like, that's right. Got it fed to me over Tallis Duncan. Get that up your haters. David Fafita, Cracker. No, don't get that up your haters. We love our listeners. I don't know what else to say, Cracker. I apologise to the haters. You're entitled to your opinion. Give it to us every week. We love it. David Fafita, Cracker, had 85 points with a try for kick, 70 in base plus power. I got to say, last week he looked really fit through the 80. He did look very, very tired for stretches in this game. He got through a lot of work, tough physical matchup with Billy Kickout. But, the Elliott injury probably ensured he got that 80 minutes.
Yeah, he definitely looked pretty gassed throughout the game at different points, but when he wasn't, when he was up and about, he's looking strong. He's starting to look like peak for Fafita over the last few weeks, tackle busting, hitting hard in defence. He really did. He seemed to enjoy that battle with Big Billy kicks and got right into him. I'd say won the battle. 70 base plus power is unreal. So love to see it.
Yeah, and Keon Kalamatangi, 72 points, nearly all in pure base. He actually came off with 9 minutes to go. I saw it was probably just after the 60-minute mark. He copped a bit of a shot to the shoulder and was kind of nursing it around a little bit. Looked like he played through and I thought he was okay. I don't know if him coming off was just because kind of the game was in the bag and they just thought he deserves a rest or if it's linked to the shoulder. But that is definitely one for owners to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You'll have to stay tuned for the magic sponge with NRL physio Brian. But one to keep an eye on because owners really don't need him going down right now with all the carnage that's been going on.
Absolutely not. And Cody Walker just continues his great season, 71 with 2 assists and a TC. I'm sure a lot of people probably sat him. Not a disaster if you did. And the Cheese, 46 in 53 minutes. And it's just nice for his owners that he is not being an AE issue. Long may that continue for them. Cracking the next game, the Sharkies versus the Raiders, which was a great upset by the Raiders. I'm used to being on this show, Cracker, with a few Sharkies fans. Can I just say, watching the Sharks lose back-to-back games in ones they're expected to thrash teams, just a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? I think it's interesting. They've come up against two sides that have really strong forward packs. So the Dragons pack we've talked a lot about, and this Raiders pack, like obviously they're done for the season. Well, technically they're not now because the Cowboys lost and they won, but they're essentially done for the season. But their pack has always been really strong and they love a battle. So the last couple of weeks, the Sharks got up against two good packs and just haven't. But in saying that, the Sharks haven't played great footy. I think they'll bounce back. I think they'll be fine. But these two packs, there's something to be said about them not getting that forward momentum and being in these games where they're struggling to put points on.
AFB this week, a big out for that as well.
Huge out for their momentum through the middle, for sure.
Joe Tarpanay, 116 points with a try, 91 in base plus power. That included 28 points just alone in power stats. He only played 57 minutes. Like, you hear those numbers, you're like, oh, he must have had huge minutes this week. No, just his normal minutes, just absolutely put on a clinic. And I think I love this because this was a little bit of a sign that the Raiders boys have got Ricky's back. Because to me, Joe Tarpanay coming out and putting on that kind of performance is like, no, we agree with what Ricky said. Like, there's all this fuss in the media about, Ricky's gone too hard on his players. This was a response of a captain saying, no, we're fine with it. We like the decision he's made. So I loved it. I don't know if it's going to change my mind long-term about Joe Tarpanay as a play. Maybe next week for Big Papa's final Raiders home game. Maybe you do just get that emotion and get him into your team.
Yeah, I'm shocked to see that he's 21% owned in the top 10%. I feel like he's just been somewhat irrelevant most of the season just because of like his up and down minutes. But yeah, huge captain's performance on the weekend. Really took it to the Sharks pack. And yeah, I don't think you're bringing him in, but the sit v start thing becomes really, really tricky for that 21% that do own him.
Yeah, I think I'd play next week. I think I'd get around the narrative for next week, but narrative doesn't always work. And
the only concern about that is that Big Papa gets more minutes than he would usually get. However, Taps just did this in 57 minutes, so it doesn't really matter that much. But I think they'll give Papali'i quite a bit of time on the field next week, so you don't know if that'll eat even further into Tarpanay's minutes, or they'll kind of get some of the younger guys sitting on the bench like your Mariottas to let the two big dogs out there together.
Yeah. Owen Paddy, 78 points with a try. Good to see him back in the starting team. Only played 54 minutes, but again, Harry's back next week, so I think people have he's done overall quite a good job for the people who held him as their hooker number 2 and played him. And Sav Tamali in his return to the Raiders, I'm just going to put him on the watch list for next year. He had 75 points. His only points that weren't from base plus power was a try-saving tackle, so the rest of it's just from pure work. He still missed 5 tackles. But, Cracker, I'm hearing down in Canberra here, he has been absolutely apparently killing it in Cup, playing centre. And I do like, because he looked like he was going to be a SuperCoach weapon last year. And then this year, his confidence was shot having to take those high balls. I wonder if he can get a centre spot, maybe he does become SuperCoach relevant once again.
Yeah, potentially. I don't know whose spot he would be taking because obviously if Simi comes back fit, Matt Timmercole's been finding some form again. But I mean, the price is great for Tamale. Like we saw the heights he got to last year. He was up almost 700k at one point last year, if I remember correctly. Now he's down.
People started with him as a pod this year.
Yeah, I was very close myself. I remember I think I had him in and out of my team a few times in the preseason. So yeah, I think what you said is 100% right. Just on the watch list.
From the Sharks' perspective, it's mainly just disappointment. Britton Nikora went pretty good. He had a line break and the rest in base plus power. Like, people picked him up at 350k 5 weeks ago, and he's done a good job without absolutely exploding. Nico Hines, who was the most captain player of the week, especially a lot with the VC on him as well. He had a 58, no tries, no assists, no line breaks, no line assists. Cracker, you mentioned the tricky Trindle injury and what that means for Nico and what it means for the Sharks. One thing, at least in this game, it meant for Nico, he was pushed a lot closer to the ruck and doing a lot more distribution as opposed to sitting out wider and getting the last pass. And I think that definitely had an impact. In saying that, Nico in the past, when he's been the ball dominant, close to the ruck guy, has still proven to be an excellent Supercoach player.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I kind of alluded to this at the start of the pod. Like, usually if Trindle went down, I'd be licking my lips for Nico and saying, how good's this? He's just going to be the main guy. But as you said earlier, like, they seem to have worked that role out. And I think the less thinking that Nico has to do, the better it is for Nico's rugby league and for his Supercoach. We saw on the weekend he struggled to adjust to being that dominant guy. But, you know, if he's going into a game knowing that that's what's happening, they've got a week to prepare for it, it could be awesome for him. I think a lot of people will be a little bit put off vice captaining him now that he's gone low as like a really popular captain a couple of weeks in a row. I'll definitely still be probably having something on him with these soft games they've got coming up, because I still think there's some big scores for Nico on the run home, and we'll just see what's going on with Tricky and when he's set to return.
Yeah, I think one of the tricky things for next week is, Cracker, you're in that unique position where you can do both Cleary and Hines. And Cleary plays the Storm next week. And obviously they haven't been going very well. They've been conceding a lot of points. So there will definitely be people who will make the choice of Cleary over Nico. So we'll see how that pans out. It's going to be a tricky decision for a lot of people.
Tricky, no pun intended. But the Sharks play the Titans in a daytime fixture. So like, that's just
hard to pass
so
up.
Juicy. So juicy. I think people with the three halfback strat like me, I think you've just got to persist with the two of those big dogs.
Yeah, no question. You're persisting if you've got those two.
Yeah, but people will be a bit scarred from this week, I think.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we're only a couple of weeks removed from him going back to back hundreds and looking amazing. So yeah, it's tricky. Tricky again. There's that word.
Jeez, you said the word tricky 50 times in the space of 2 minutes there.
Ronaldo Mulatalo has had 54 with no attack. He had 34 points from power stats. I think he had 6 offloads and 10 points from tackle busts. He had a try controversially allowed. I didn't think it was enough to overturn the referee's decision, but I know plenty of people did. A lot of those, I think, were Ronaldo Mulatalo owners. But it's just one of these things, Cracker, where I find Ronnie so hard to read, because I genuinely 2 weeks ago had him down as a fantastic buy. I said I couldn't do it myself because I've been burnt too many times in the past, but I thought for people without that baggage, I thought he was a fantastic buy, and now he's gone back-to-back, letdown scores.
Yeah, it stings. I reckon there'll be so many people who felt the same as you but went, nah, I'm doing it, and they're just going to have him even further down on that, further up on that never again list. But then you go into next week. I just mentioned they're playing the Titans. If you own him, I think you got to play him. You got to play him and just hope it's going to happen at some point. It's just been unfortunate. It was brought in pretty popularly a couple of weeks ago, so it's been unfortunate for owners. But I think you persist, and I think you'll reap some rewards on the run home. Yeah,
I mean, obviously it's not going to be as nice a reward as what they were hoping for, even if he does get a couple of big scores. Blake Brayley had a 47 with a try assist that was also a line assist as well. Like, on the surface of it, that's incredibly disappointing. It feels like it should be impossible for a hooker to get that score with a try assist, line assist when they play 80 minutes. Good insight, I thought, Cracker, from Sharks fan C-Mac, the king of the rugby league eye test, and he's come good again. Blake Brayley defended on the edge in Trindle's spot once the injury happened, and Puru, who came on, defended in the middle. So that's obviously going to have a huge impact on how many tackles he makes in the game. So I thought that was really interesting feedback from C-Mac, and it did go a little bit of the way to explaining to me what happened there.
Yeah, definitely. I think for people who didn't bring Brayley in when they had that Harry Grant decision, have run the AE for the last few weeks, or had a Pasco or an Owen Paddy there, like, you're cheering with how it's panned out, because he's had a lot of attack and he just hasn't come out with some monster score any of the weeks. It'd be interesting to see what they do in terms of if Puru plays 5'8" this week. Sure, I can't imagine them going into a game with that plan of, like, Brayley playing hooker but defending on an edge. I just don't really know. Sharks fans will know better, like, what other depth they have. But Puru kind of has been the guy, 18th, 19th man sitting on the bench. I think he can play some dummy half. I'm not sure if he is a half traditionally. So it'd be very interesting to see who they bring in and what that does for Brayley and Nico, like we spoke about.
Yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on. You mentioned, like, I didn't choose to use one of my trades from Harrogate to Blake Brayley. I've actually made points off not buying Blake Brayley now off the back of this week, because the last 2 weeks my AEs have handily outscored Blake Brayley, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people who are in a similar boat. So, yeah, he hasn't hurt as much as he seemed like what he could. Just didn't get the chance to run much on the weekend. And like you mentioned, Cracker, the last 2 weeks their forward pack just haven't had the run that you would like.
Yeah, for sure. And again, we've just mentioned it for all the Sharks players we've just talked about. It will come. He will have some big scores on the run home, like the other guys we've mentioned. Just has been a little bit disappointing, considering the attack he's been getting lately.
The next game was the Eels versus the Cowboys, another upset. And Braden Burns, he's one of those guys who we talk about on this show sometimes. He gets talked about in a lot of Supercoach content as a guy who gets it done. He's in 0.9% of teams in the top 10%. He's at a 98 with a try and an assist and 57 in base plus power. Braden Burns, when he's on the field, really good Supercoach player, always has been. You just can't trust it. Jackson Purdue was the one who stood out to me. 94 points with a try and an assist. He actually ran the ball 12 times. One of those tries was just phenomenal. And he just looks exciting again. He looks like he's free. He looks like the pressure's a little bit off him. I don't know if he's playing with an injury or it was roll, but he looks great.
He looks awesome. He's really settling into that halfback position. A lot of touches, as you said, a lot of runs. That try I love that. That was just like quick play the ball, called for the ball, I think it was poor old Luca Moretti at A defender and just went in, out. Moretti planted his feet straight past him. It was beautiful halfback play. He also threw a lovely long cutout ball to the winger. I think it was to Braden Burns for his try. So, yeah, playing really good footy and well done to those 11% that hung on to him with that handy duel. And I think you're playing him most weeks. He's got the bye, obviously, next week, but then 2 beautiful fixtures to finish the season.
Tommy Chester, 61 with a try, albeit no line break with that try. I think that's just a little bit representative of how far his base plus power has fallen. It's been a long year. He looks a good player. And Scotty Drinkwater, 56 points, 20 points from goals to go with that in a game where they scored 30. That, really disappointing, I think, for the people who own Scotty Drinkwater. I noticed, Crack, I was like, I wonder what the role's like. Is he losing touches because of Jackson Purdue going to 7? He's actually gained touches since Jackson Purdue went to 7. He was by far their ball dominant man. He had 57 touches, way more than either Jake Clifford or Jackson Purdue. I wonder if it's just that he's not pushing. Like, I didn't really notice this watching the game. Like, is he maybe playing a little bit closer to the ruck and doing a bit more organisation as opposed to pushing out wide? Like, it didn't stand out to me, but I thought that was really interesting when I looked up the touches afterwards.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to pinpoint. We need the king of the eye test himself. We need C-Mac on the case here. That touches surprises me because I was saying to you pre-pod, I was like, well, he got 5 goals and only scored a 56. Like, that's really disappointing for owners and for people potentially looking to trade Reece Walsh to him after their bye. But the touches, yeah, that's got to be promising. Luca Moretti's about to get his second shout out of the podcast. For Reed Marnie's try, he hit Drinkwater on the play before and looked like he was over for all money, and Moretti chopped him around the legs and Reed Marnie picked it up and just dived straight over.
Yeah.
So I guess if he gets that very early try, all of a sudden we're looking at an 85 score here and it probably all looks a little bit different and you're excited by his score and all the touches. So, yeah, again, I think Cowboys have got that great final 2 fixtures. He'll be a good player for the owners, but I don't know if Reece Walsh sellers will be flocking to him like they would have if he had to put up a big score this week.
I think one reason they might is because he's cheaper than Reece Walsh, and for people who have no money, it's going to be hard. Yeah. You can't get up to a lot of the other guys. So if you can wait the 1 week and then get drinking for those great 2 matchups on paper for the last 2 weeks, I think a lot of people will make that call just because they may not have many other options. But your point stands. Helam Lukey, off the back of his huge score last week, unfortunately only had a 35 hard. He had a sin bin. He didn't get any attack, so that's obviously going to impact his scoring greatly. And Cracker, Mitchy Moses. Just want to talk about Mitchy because he has obviously had a really disappointing NRL season. Shout out Origin 3, where he was not disappointing. But he had 80 points this week. And a little bit of signs of life out of Mitch. He's had 3 scores over 70 in the last 4 weeks. I think he's going to be an option come round 1 next year. I don't feel great about it, but I think he's going to be an option.
He will be. He'll be talked about a lot, just like he was this year. I don't want to go there, but he definitely is up and about. He's flappier than ever at the referees. He's getting match-winning penalties when his head is an inch off the ground. But he's certainly on ball. He's aggressive. He's fired up. He clearly just wants the Eels to have a positive end to the season to try and... It's kind of very similar to last year, I guess. They were down and out and they finished well. But then they came out this year and got decimated by injuries. So he's probably trying to build some positive momentum into 2027. But yeah, God, well, let's save our Mitchell Moses talk for next pre-season.
Done. Last mention of the year for Mitchy Moses. Broncos versus the Wars was the next game. And look, I just want to give a couple of the Warriors boys a little bit of love. I feel bad for the Wars fans out there because they're just not the most Supercoach relevant team, despite what a good NRL team they are. Here's a couple just pods I'm going to give a shout out to. Jacob Laban, who had 90 points, a try, and 69 in base plus power. He had a lot of early career hype, Jacob Laban, and at first it seemed like maybe he wasn't going to hit it. He is averaging 71.7 this year in his 10 games of 65 plus minutes, and he looks like a really dynamic ball runner, going well. And Mitchie Barnett, 73 points, and he's averaging 68.6 since Jackson Ford went down, and he was available at a really nice cheap price. So there are a couple of pods doing good things. Cracker, one who was talked about a lot during the week was Leka Halasima, who had 71 with a try and a line break, 44 in base plus power. Look, not the explosion maybe you would have hoped for, but Leka's still looking very good.
Yeah, if you jumped on, you're not overly disappointed. You'd hope if he's scoring a try, he's pumping out a 90, but solid, not too bad, and hopefully some big scores still incoming.
What about Luke Metcalf? Done his hammy while goal kicking. I mean, that's obviously disastrous for the Wires fans. 1.9% of SuperCoach in the top 10% went from Tamaro Martin to Luke Metcalf this week. That's a tough blow because now I'd say it's a really good thing for the TMM holders. I don't think he's back next week, but he could be back the week after.
Luke Metcalf or Luke Met Hammy, am I right? I'll leave that there. It is great news for the TMM holders. It hurt my soul. While you keep laughing, I'll continue to talk. It hurt my soul seeing his face and how disappointed he was after he felt that pop in his hamstring. Like, he was just absolutely shattered. Shout out Matt Nable for putting the curse on him. They did a whole big pre-game thing about the injuries he's overcome and how he's had such a tough run, and they talked about tearing his hamstring earlier in the season. And then off it goes, kicking a goal. Why is kicking a goal the most dangerous sport in the world right now, by the way? Well, there's more injuries in goal kicking than there is, like, motocross riding lately. It's outrageous. But yeah, TMM owners, I guess you never want to see someone get injured, but it's worked out well for those people in that regard. And just absolutely sucks for the people that made that move this week. Just like the worst feeling in SuperCoach. Yeah,
I'm actually keen to see who's their halfback next week with Matt Hammy out and Tamaro Martin out and Tanner Boyd out. Their top three halfback choices are out. Do we get a little sneaky debut of Jet Cleary? Or is it going to be that Luke Hansen, a.k.a. Mbop? Does he come back into the team? He played a couple of games earlier in the year. Could Mbop be back in?
He could. I do like that nickname. He could. I mean, what did they do mid-game? They put C&K in there, didn't they, during the game, and put Tane Tuapiki
but now
back to fullback.
But you think, out.
Yeah. Oh, of course, he's suspended. Far out. They are flying the Wars. I thought the Broncos pack were really up for this early and trying to be physical with them, and they just ended up getting way on top and obviously blowing out the scoreline. But they're not without their injuries. Like, and they're doing this with a lot of guys off the paddock. So you're giving them some love early. I'll shout out to them again. They're absolutely flying. Maybe we will see Hansen because Cleary's been in the news asking for a release over the last few weeks as well. So if he was sticking around and wanting to, do the long haul, they might look at him. But I guess they'll probably go to the guy they've already given minutes to earlier in the season.
Well, both of them are off. Mbop's gone next year too. He's already signed with someone else. So whoever they put in, it's someone who's not going to be there next year. So we'll see. Could be interesting. Broncos middles are the only ones worth really talking about outside of Reece Walsh, who we got into in the rage trades. Big X, Xavier Willison, 92 points. He scored another try. He's actually scored 3 tries in his last 4 games. And the only game he didn't was when he had that 5-minute one and had to come off with the cut knee. He also had 67 in base plus power in 66 minutes. I mean, the tricky thing is, I reckon a lot of people probably sat Big X this week because of the fact that he only played 60 minutes the week before. So hopefully they didn't have to watch that from the pine.
And I think that's going to continue being the tricky thing with him. He's going to be a sit v start battle in the weeks moving forwards. I mean, a lot of people probably would have played him this week with the amount of late outs and people pulling out, and squads are actually a bit skinny this week in the end. But in those weeks where you've got plenty of numbers, he's going to be a really tricky one to make a decision on, and you're probably sitting him more often than not, but he just keeps getting it done. He loves a try, loves a meat pie, Big X. Not a cheese and bacon guy. He's all meat.
He'd be all like steak and kidney, I reckon.
Yeah.
Big X. I could actually see him loving a potato pie.
Yeah, possibly. I think we're doing too much time on pies. And I brought it up. That's my bad.
Payne Haas, 79 points, all in base plus power. he actually had no negatives, and most of his power stats came from one run at the back end of the game. He busted like 5 tackles and threw an offload in that one. He looks a little bit of a beaten down man, Payne. Like he's too much pride in himself as a footballer to fully give up on the Broncos. But there was one where I was watching where they just tackled a whole set. They held them out for once in the game, which they didn't do often. And then one of their rabbit outside backs had a hit up and just dropped on the first tackle. And you literally just watch Payne's head just went down, and then he just turned around and jogged back into the defensive line. And he just, I think we're not going to see the ceiling we've seen from Payne in the past, I don't think, for the rest of this year. But I'm still going to play him each week. The motor's too good. The minutes are too good to deny, I think.
And like you say, he's a bit of a beaten down man. He's had a bit of a just go into the motions game and scored 79. Like he's just his down weeks are solid weeks for anybody else. He'd be secretly like not stoked. Obviously, he wants to play finals football, but now that it's not going to happen, he'd be happy he gets a few weeks off rest before the World Cup campaign because he's played a lot of footy over the his whole career really because he just doesn't stop playing rep footy. So he'll get a well-earned rest before that World Cup and then move into Souths and probably get a soft tissue injury at Heffron Park like everybody else does.
That was unnecessary.
I apologise. I don't wish that on Payne at all.
Yeah, all the Rabbitohs. All right, next game. Today's games, the Knights versus the Titans. The Titans getting big points put on them again. Another day game where there's just points are flowing. From an NRL perspective, fun game to watch, not high quality. From SuperCoach perspective, it causes a lot of points. And Fletcher Sharp had 87. 2 tries, including one ridiculous solo. If you said Purdue's one was good, I think this one outdid it, Cracker. He was just getting no ball this game. And it's almost like in the second half, he went, all right, I'll do it myself. And he took one run from dummy half where he made like almost a half bust and busted a couple of tackles. And then the next set they had, picked it up from dummy half again, and this time ran 60. He just looks so good, so free, busting tackles. He's a really fun player to watch.
He's great. It's just he was on 11, I think, at half time. Like it was truly, it was quite concerning.
He had 2 runs.
There's a lot of talk in the Discord like, come on Fletch. And then I think you wrote in our chat, was Fletch holding his shoulder there? I think he's in a bit of pain. Then I looked up and he was beating 75 people and scoring a try. But yeah, like big second half, a lot of points, but it was concerning. Like we were all complaining in our group chat. Sin and Smith just not doing great things for Fletch, but he still manages to get it done, and hopefully he just takes the field next week with that second half attitude. Like I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait to get put in good positions. I'm just going to put myself there.
Yeah, I hope so because he's been a lot of fun the last few weeks. KP, Kalen Ponga, 86 points, an assist, try contributions, 3 line breaks. He was actually a little bit Teddy-like today, like 9 tackle busts. He was doing a little bit of crab across field work, which was quite fun as an owner. Still not goal kicking, which isn't ideal, but if he's playing free footy like that, KP will continue to score well for the next 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, us 26% of the top 10 out there who don't own him, it is tough. It is a really tough watch every single week. There's a few times over the last month or so where I've thought, okay, like maybe he's going to go low today. Then he just finds attack. And as you said, the tackle breaks on the ball, really fired up today, practically. Almost had to send Fletcher Hunt for a HIA the way Ponga jumped on him and celebrated with him after his try. He was that into it. But up and about, and for the non-owners, we've got to get through one more easy fixture. Then he's got the Wars and the bye, and I can't wait for that as a non-owner. Because he's playing great footy and he's putting together such a long stretch, which is great to see as an NRL fan.
Yeah. And Greg Marju has scored another 2 tries. That actually takes him up to 3rd in the NRL for most tries scored this year behind Milky Jenkins and AJ. 82 points, 48 in base plus power. And he also got it done in a week without Bradman Best. Like a lot's been made, I think, accurately of the fact he doesn't get as good quality ball. But this week, Fletcher Hunt actually did throw a nice ball out to him on that side. And I think Manu Leua also threw him a pass early in the game for a nice try. So, yeah, good to see for the Greg owners, him getting it done. I was cheering against him. That second try stung a little bit, but well done to all those who own him and played him in this week fixture, even without Brady Best. Cracker, Francis Manu Leua. He had 50 points with an assist. He only had 6 runs this week. I got to say, like, as someone who just enjoys watching him as a footballer, just a bit of a reminder that he's still young. He's not always going to have that week-to-week consistency.
Yeah, for sure. I think you summed that up really well. Still saw glimpses of his raw talent. Like, as you said, set up another try with a nice bit of ball playing. But yeah, he's probably going to have his down weeks and it wasn't it's still a solid score, but in terms of settling into first grade, there's going to be ups and downs. And this week was one of those downs. So hopefully for owners, he bounces back next week with another big score.
Yeah, and like I said, last kind of easy matchup of the year too, because people might look to sit him against the Wars in round 26. Dom Young, obviously off the back of 145 last week, and a lot of chatter about him. He had 25 with a line break this week. I don't think Gagai coming off at halftime was very good for Dom Young. Gagai is unbelievable at setting up Dom Young on that right edge. And one to watch moving forward, because Bradman Best comes back next week. Next thing you know, Fletcher Hunt's probably going to be the right centre. And Fletcher Hunt, even though he did get a good one for Greg today, there was still plenty of opportunities today where he didn't get the ball out to Greg when I thought he could have. I don't think that's an ideal scenario for Dom Young if the Gagai injury is serious.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're playing him next week anyway with that last soft matchup that we've alluded to a few times. But yeah, far less than ideal coming into a Wars game in round 26. But yeah, low score. We know Dom Young's got that in him, but to go that low with a line break is quite surprising.
It's less than ideal. On the Titans side of things, I just got to give a shout out to the namesake of my team, Bo Fermor, who had 116 with 2 tries, 2 line breaks, and 61 in base plus power. Bo, still love you. Been too cowardly to get you this year. Maybe next year. And Jaden Campbell, who had 82 points with a try contribution, and a line break. That score, I thought, SuperCoach score, flattered his actual NRL performance today. I thought he had a really poor game. A couple of kicks out in the full. He missed a lot of tackles. His decision-making, he got caught with the ball at least twice on the last tackle that I saw. I thought he had a pretty poor game, and I don't love how it's all looked with Zane Harrison out.
Yeah, completely agree. Like he's pulled out that score out of nowhere. It was similar to Fletch. He was looking very quiet early. He was very, very worried. Then he scored that try, which was great. But yeah, not a good NRL game. Lockie Ilias, similar to Sandon Smith, just not great for Jaden Campbell. Lockie Ilias has somehow come out and tonned up in one of the worst NRL performances I've seen. But he's managed to get some attacking stats. But certainly the Titans' attack in the red zone looks garbage. They're just not getting the ball to JC or Kinney. Like, they're 2 best strike weapons consistently and in good positions in the red zone, and that's got to come down to your halfback who's organising the side. So, yeah, bit of a concern moving forwards, but still just manages to get it done, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I think JC himself deserves a bit of criticism for not getting the ball in the right spots though as well. Like there was a couple of times, like on the last tackle in the attacking red zone, he pushed himself into hooker just to pass the ball out to Lockie Ilias. Like, give yourself an option, get on the other side of the ruck. So he deserves a bit of criticism, but you are right. It's just not his natural go-to to be an organiser. He needs someone to help him with it. Tino Suamalawi had 73 points, all base plus power. He actually played out the 80 minutes due to the Paxton concussion. For me, though, Cracker, as an owner, I don't like when Tino plays 80 minutes. He stops running the ball. He just looks gassed. His hands on hips in attack, and he just tackles. So for me, I actually think I'd prefer him to be playing 65 minutes, getting 15 off and coming back big and strong, ready to bust tackles and offload.
Yeah, and there's a few players like that. It's kind of what we talked about with Terrell May sometimes in the past. Like when he goes those lower minutes, he knows he's got a spell coming up soon, so he'll work himself flat out. You'll see the more tackle breaks, the more offloads, higher work rate. So yeah, fully agree with what you're saying. And unfortunate for you as an owner, but still like a solid score. That's 73.
Oh yeah, and he takes 73.
Hopefully, just back to his usual role for you next week.
Yeah, I mean, and unlike you said, the exception rule is obviously a couple of twins we're going to get to in the Dragons game. So if they get more minutes, the points go up, the work rate does not drop. The last one from this Titans game, Ollie Pascoe, who had a 55 with a try contribution and 46 tackles. He actually would have played the 80. He came off for a HIA, which he passed, so that's a good thing for owners too. Next game, the Tigers versus the Dragons, and let's start off with Rouchy and Touchy, the Couchman brothers. Both had 70 points this week. That game hasn't had the updates run through yet, so we'll see if that slightly changes. But Rouchy, 52 minutes, which is still phenomenal that he got 70 in only 52 minutes. He came off for a HI in the first half, but he passed that. And then he actually came off again after about another 20 minutes in the field. I thought he was set for an early shower, but I actually think when the Tigers scored a couple of tries late, Dean Young chucked him back on to try and tighten the ship. So it could have been a smaller week for Rouchy.
It could have been, and there was a bit of talk, I don't know how many people ended up doing it, but there's a bit of talk about VC Nico than just a safe C on Rouchy. And I think we may have mentioned it on the pod, or maybe you were giving some advice on the Discord. I think that's why you can't do that, even though he is such a reliable scorer and such an animal. Their minutes, both the Couchmans, are just both so weird that you just can't predict him. He's gone 80 minutes a couple of weeks in a row, down to this performance, which, as you said, was 52 and could have been less. But, yeah, their work rate is just unbelievable. And shout out to Mrs. Couchman, right? Mrs. Couchman commented on one of Ballr's
She
posts
did.
when Danny Boy was talking about them sitting at the breakfast table, counting up their tackles and how filthy Toby would have been. Mama Couchman commented, enjoying the content. So shout out to you, Mama Couchman. Thanks for watching.
The Couchman.
The Couchman. It was right there in front of me, wasn't it?
You've still got punt of the pod for Luke and Nedhammy, so I'll take Couchman for second place.
Yeah.
Toby Cracker, also 70 points. He got 64 minutes. Doesn't quite have the work rate of his brother. I hope that Ryan gets into him about that tonight around dinner. Eating a couple of cheese and bacon pies. But Toby came off the bench and stayed on all game, which is good. Obviously, like 64 minutes coming off the bench is nice. I still think there's going to be people out there who, and they're right, that means coming off the bench won't be a concern for him moving forward. The downside, and I remember Hughes made this a really good point ages ago in the season when Jackson Ford started coming off the bench, and she was just saying, yeah, he'll get 60 minutes, it's fine. But when you have someone like Toby Couchman, he's a mop-up man. And the problem with him coming off the bench is it means the maximum he can get is 60 to 65 minutes. He's never going to be able to get those mop-up minutes anymore. So, yeah, it's fine if he comes off the bench. I would prefer to see him back in the starting lineup next week.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And I just don't really understand what the thinking was, because he'd obviously been so good starting. Emre Gula's not a fantastic football player, so be interesting to see what kind of lineup they name next week. But hopefully, as you said, he's starting and gets those mop-up minutes.
Yeah. Tiger side of things, Alex Twall was laid out due to an illness, so hopefully that means he's going to be back for next week. And he did survive the first 24 hours of cuts, which means it was something that maybe they were hoping he was going to get through, had to pull out late. Debutant Solomon Sukuru had a 99 with 2 tries, a 21-year-old. He's one to keep an eye on for next year. Appy Coruscant Cracker had 93 with an assist, a line break, 59 tackles. He's actually played 80 minutes now in back-to-back games, but does the advice we've been saying now for 4 weeks apply? Don't make moves at hooker?
Yeah, it does. You wish you had seen this maybe 7 or 8 weeks ago, like a little while ago, when there was actually some trades to be made, or potential trades to be made at hooker. Still such a good footy player, Uppy. It's crazy that he won a comp back in 2014 as a young hooker with the Rabbitohs, and he's still out there carving up today. He's so good to watch when he's on. But maybe stop playing 80 minutes, Uppy, and make your price suitable for the start of next season. That'd be lovely.
That would be nice. Terrell May had 80 points in just 64 minutes. I thought he looked really good today, actually. I thought he was one of the Tigers' better players. He was back to bending the line back. Hopefully that week off has freshened him up a little bit and he can have a really big, strong finish to the season. But I like what I saw out of Terrell.
Yeah, I think there was one point I went to check his score, and I saw you've got here, like, he only had 3 offloads in total. And I saw he was on 50-odd points, and I thought he must be having a lot of offloads and tackle breaks. He'd made like 42 tackles in 50 minutes. He was just working unbelievably hard. And you're right, his hit-ups looked like they were back to their usual kind of vigour and bending the line back. So really good to see, because I spent a lot of time on Tuesday talking about him as like a bit of a sit option. I know it's been a recurring theme on the pod over the last month or so, because he's been a little bit down on his usual numbers. So it was a good return to usual standards for Terrell today.
The next one I want to talk about is Adam Dewey, who I think is also a potential good Reece Walsh replacement for people. He's going to be about 590k next week, and obviously he would also allow you to play that 3 halfback strategy for those looking to sell Reece. He had, that 72 today came with 2 line assists, but no major attacking stats, no tries, no try assists. He only had 10 points from goals. He actually had 42 in base plus power, so he was kind of busting a few tackles, offloading the ball nicely. He's one I'm going to take a serious look at as a Reece Walsh replacement.
He's a bit of an accumulator himself, isn't he?
He is, very much so.
Racks them up. Here's my thing to you as someone who's considering it, and to people out there who might be looking at him. They got the Roosters this week. Then they got the Cowboys, which is a good matchup, but it is at whatever it's called now. I was going to say Dairy Farmers, but Queensland Country Bank. Then they play the Panthers. So they've got 2 of the 3 worst matchups you can have. The only way it'll be worse is if they had the Warriors in there. I think that's something you need to really consider if you're looking at making that move to him, is they've got some really bad fixtures up ahead. And as I said, that Panthers round 27 game is looking like less of a chance of a rest for the Panthers boys now, with them wanting to secure a home final.
I think that's a really good point, and you've probably talked me out of him for the most part in one fell swoop. It's the Roosters' defence has been absolutely outstanding of late, and then the Panthers are really going to if they have to play that game, it could be a big game for them. If the players are playing it, it's one they need to win. So I think you've made a really good point, and that might be enough to put me off him. So that brings our round analysis to a close. Let's look at now our big baller moves brought to you by the Ballr Team Builder tool, available over at ballr.live, where you can get your players in. Check out those ragey ones that you want to get rid of and see what the squad looks like. Cracker, are you in the place of no injuries, no trades this week?
I'm in that very, very lucky place. I'll be still clutching onto these final 2 trades and seeing what I can do with them come round 26 and round 27. So, yeah, very boring on my end this week. But let's talk about yours, because you've actually got some things to think about.
Yeah, well, thanks to Reece Walsh. I am going to be using one of my 2 final trades a little bit earlier than I wanted to. I mentioned Adam Dewey. I'm not going to completely write him off. I need to let that marinate. I thought your points were strong about why I might not bring him in. I think there is also a good play to wait a week and then get Drinkwater for the last 2 games of the year, where they have nice matchups, and Cowboys probably will have a fair bit to play for themselves across those 2 games. So I think he's a really good option. If you're looking for pods, I don't mind Matt Duffy. I think he obviously has shown a lot of form for the Rabbitohs this year. They got troops back on deck. Latrell Mitchell may be coming back soon, so I don't mind that. The other one, Cracker, I'm not going to be too proud to say this. I'll look at Sua Fa'alongo. I'm lucky. A lot of the people out there might be tight capped. I think I've got about 280k in the bank. So I think that allows me the cash to get straight from Reece Boy to Sua Fa'alongo. I have to do maths on that one and double check, but that's the other one that I'll eye off for this week.
And I think with the not waiting for a week thing for Drinky, like, even though they're playing the Panthers this week, Sua is playing football this week. Scotty Drinkwater is not, and we've seen what Sua can do all season. It doesn't seem to matter who they're playing. He's just
Panthers is tough though.
It's extremely tough.
They got the Sharks in round 27 too, so that's you're talking about tough matchups. They're 2 pretty hard matchups.
You know what's tougher than the Panthers? The bye. And he doesn't have the bye. So I think that's decent. Can I chuck a bit of a left field one at you?
Go at it.
Averaging 70 for the season. I think 68, 5-round average. Not someone who's always very Supercoach relevant, but this team plays the Eels. Then they do have the Roosters, but then they finished with the Titans, and that is Hamiso Tabuai Fido as a bit of an ultrapod. Just because options are thin on the ground at the moment, I'm just chucking someone fully left field out there.
Yeah, I think Selwyn Cobbo is an option too. Like, it doesn't have to be. For a lot of people, it's a flex fill up. It doesn't have to be fullback. True, yeah. So it depends what people need. But I don't have to resort just to fullbacks or halfbacks. I definitely will cast my eye wider. They're just my initial thoughts. It's not an easy one. I'd say Cracker at the moment, my favourite, the most likely thing I do, because I'm a little bit worried about Sua against the Panthers next week and the Sharks in 27. I think my most likely one is wait a week on Drinky, because you're right, the bye's a tough matchup. You do know that in Supercoach, I am allowed to replace Drinky. I don't have to play him against the bye next week.
Yes, I am aware of that. It's just, fullback slots, usually you want to play them most weeks.
Cracker, how'd you enjoy jumping on for the snap this week? Thanks for filling in for Tubes. Tubes had a bit of family stuff on, so thank you for jumping in.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was nice to put back-to-back weeks together. A bit of Braden Burns about me. I've put 2 weeks together, so I'll have to be out for a while now. I can't go too many games in a row. I hope I haven't made the listeners sick of me, because they've heard a lot of my voice lately. But yeah, I mean, it's always fun coming on a Sunday night when you've gone well, both in Supercoach and other sporting fixtures have gone your way. It makes it a bit easier to turn up and talk and be happy. So yeah, great week for me to be on, to be honest.
Mate, great to have you here, and we'll be back on Tuesday with Matt and C-Mac, 2 of the hottest super coaches going out there to analyse round 25 and hopefully help talk us all through a lot of our trades, our sits and our starts is going to be a big feature of the show moving forward. So, yeah, especially for those prelim head-to-head finals matchups that are going to happen. So look forward to chatting to those boys on Tuesday, and hopefully people listen in and enjoy. And Cracker, bring us home, mate.
You'll be able to.